Welcome to the Sign In Thrive podcast for notaries. If you're looking for a way to elevate and grow your business, today's conversation will introduce you to one of the top five most lucrative specialties under the notary umbrella. And get this, you don't even have to be a commissioned notary to do this work. And it works in every single state. Yes, you heard that right. You can start a fingerprinting business in every state, despite the misinformation from other notaries, Facebook University, search engines, artificial intelligence like ChatGPT, and even some local police precincts and sheriff's office get this part wrong. Not intentionally, they just usually don't know how it all works. So stay tuned for an enlightening conversation and a clear path to adding a stream of revenue to your business that could change your life. I'm your host, Bill Soroka, founder of notarycoach.com and builder of the largest and most engaged notary community on the school platform. It's called High Performance Notary, and you can join for free at school.com/notary. That's SKOOL.com/notary. If you get lost in that, just go to notarycoach.com and it's all there. My guest today is Brandon Edwards, the founder of BioScan USA, as well as the founder of the most comprehensive and reputable fingerprinting training I've been able to find called Secure Biometrics. Brandon, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks, Bill, for having me, man. I truly appreciate the time that we have been spending together and just kind of, running ideas back and forth off each other of things that we can do to help people out and really get great information about fingerprinting and being able to do it in every single state. So
Exactly.
thank you for that.
Yeah, well, thank you for being willing to share that because I know even over the years, it's been such a struggle to try to crack open the iron doors to the insider information of the fingerprinting business. And you've done a really great job in doing that. And I want to start with that huge misconception that I led with because so many notaries believe that misinformation out there about whether they can offer these fingerprinting services in their state. A lot of people believe fingerprinting is state locked or already controlled by some entity that prevents them from building a business. So, my question to you is why is that belief so dangerous to an entrepreneur? And what do people miss when they just believe that and stop right there?
Um, so great questions. It's the thing about the misconception. So level one, yes, it can be done in every single state. A lot of times, um, people will have other people around them that have their own limitations and they project that onto others, right? Or if they don't know, they'll still project it. And it's not to help someone out, that's not necessarily the best, circle to be in. And so you have to kind of step outside of those boundaries and research it for yourself. A lot of times we'll just see something, hear something, but we don't know it ourselves, right? So you have to take that time to do that. And that's what I did back starting in like 2017, kind of researching and figuring out what can really be done. And as I've kind of went into my nerd hat of research, right, I noticed that, okay, Texas is a state where they have a single source provider like an Identical and they have the most states, right? And so I realized that they're doing state checks, but you can also do federal checks and doing checks for people that are going to other states. And so those people have to get fingerprint cards to go to other states. And that kind of just, spiraled down in that path and figuring out, okay, this can be done. And then as I grew the business and noticed that, okay, well, other states need the same thing and you can do this in other states. And so, um, it's a matter of going out there and getting the information and knowing that you can do it. And I hope that answers your question. I think I kind of veered a little bit,
Yeah,
but
well, and you've sparked many more. So, and I love how you started this because this is one of my big lessons in business that I've learned. And it led me on all kinds of wild goose chases down the wrong road, shutting doors that should have remained open, opening doors that should have remained closed. And this piece of advice is take advice from people who have the results that you want. And I think in our industry, in particular, we forget that. We don't do that. somebody's on social media, we just believe what they say. And what you said really ties into that. They have their own limitations, and it's a subconscious thing, right? Our brains like to feel validated that our
Yeah,
beliefs are correct. So we recruit other people into the same sort of belief, or we don't want somebody to be more successful than we are. So we just kick out the dreams out from underneath people sometimes,
yeah, yeah,
right? But
absolutely.
taking responsibility, doing your own research, finding people who have the results that you want, and asking advice is so important. Now, what I'm understanding, I want to go back to what you said though, because I think this is a huge point. You're in Texas. Texas is one of those states, and I still hear it to this day all the time, Brandon. Oh, you can't do that in Texas. Texas is closed. You can't do it. They're a single, what do you call them? A single
Yes,
state provider or whatever it is,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
done. You cannot do fingerprinting in Texas. That's I hear it all the time when I send out the emails or have a conversation with somebody. So you're telling me that you're in Texas and you've built this empire, multi-state empire, doing fingerprinting in a closed state. So I wonder if you could elaborate a little bit more on exactly what that means, and then we can take it nationwide.
yeah, sure, sure. So, let's say being in Texas, if you have a state like that that is closed, so to speak, there always still is a card scanning station. So every state has a card scanning station where people can mail in cards to the state if they cannot make it to the state providers' offices to get fingerprinted, or they just don't want to go. Like you can't force them to go there, but they are in charge of providing the background check, so to speak. So someone can get fingerprinted anywhere, get the card, mail it to their card center station, and then they perform the background check, right? Kind of the same thing as far as if you go to other states that may not have a single source provider, like a Florida, they can go anywhere to get fingerprinted, but the state is still providing the background check. You see what I'm saying? So the method of capture can be live scan or ink, and the agency can go to any agency, but it's all of who's in charge of actually performing the background check, right? And so as I've been able to do that, I notice there's a lot of people I mean, that need fingerprint services because a lot of states are becoming, what would I say, they're doing more of a due diligence as far as checking people, right? So certain professions didn't have to have fingerprint background checks, but like it started a few years ago in Texas, so where um, at first it used to be like just medical doctors and nurses, right? And then they started adding ancillary services to it. So like your X-ray techs, CAT scan techs, MRI techs, your respiratory therapists, your lab pathology. So all these different ones, they started adding them on, and they started saying, okay, now logistics companies, now certain insurance agencies. Okay, now so it just started going, and then other states started doing the same thing, right? So like that's kind of the cool thing of the as states start to do more due diligence and background checks on people. They're moving to the fingerprint background checks, which is considered a level 2 background check, right? Because it's involving the biometrics, right? The fingerprints. And so that's kind of the cool things. As more states are doing that, then that's more opportunities for us to go and get these customers. And then, as you build your relationships, because you always talk about build relationships, right, with different companies that constantly have employees to be fingerprinted, then you can continue to grow that service line and bring those companies on. So I hope that
Yeah.
kind of ties it
Yeah.
in there.
Good clarity. And it's not just Texas. Like you said, it's all these other states, and compliance and security is such a huge component of our entire economy. So you see, even in some states, teachers have to be fingerprinted every single year.
Mm-hmm.
Attorneys have to be fingerprinted every year, or at least when they graduate law school, right? So there's all
Mm-hmm.
these industries, and some that we don't even know exist, that require this level of background check. So that's part of the big opportunity here is it's expanding, not shrinking.
Yeah.
And the other part of this is the convenience factor too, because I think you and I talk about all the time how, and you can see it all over Facebook. If you don't have a brick and mortar business, you're never going to
Mhm.
make it in fingerprinting, right? They say that all the
Yeah.
time. But can you speak about the opportunity for the convenience? I mean, we're in the convenience economy. So is there a
Right,
market
right.
for fingerprinting here?
Sure, absolutely. I tell people, I'll say this first. When you think about, do people want to pay for convenience? How many people have DoorDash accounts and Uber Eats accounts, right? And you're paying, they're marking up the food and you're paying all these extra fees. So people paying for the convenience of people coming to them, right? And I had mentioned on a previous webinar that you know one of the FBI channelers started out being mobile for 8 years prior to even having a brick and mortar location, right? And they became an FBI channeler. And so it's about where you're at in your business, but what we're essentially doing, we're offering white glove concierge mobile services to people, right? And so we're going to businesses, business owners, executives that value their time, and they're going to have their secretary or whoever kind of schedule you to come in and fingerprint them. And so that's what we're doing. And so average individuals, you can do mobile services for them, but I'm in order to really get a great return in this business, I say focus towards business owners and businesses and corporations. And I think you mentioned about doing things like that too in your daily dues, Bill, right? When, getting your list together, your top 100 or your five, something like that to be able
Yeah.
to have people to go and reach out to. And you can kind of explain about that too, right? As far as getting businesses that you want to market to. If you could share that a little bit, Bill, but that's how we're going to, it's essentially exponentially grow our businesses. And that's what I've been able to do by, increasing my rates and being able to get the customer base that I'm seeking. We got to remember this. Everybody is not your customer, right? But when you get the customer base that you want, you just run those all day.
Yeah, what a great point. I think so many entrepreneurs just think this business is put up a website. That used to be the old ways. Now we've adapted to Google Business Profile, but it's also a slippery slope and a dangerous one, right? It's not just
Mhm.
about putting up your Google Business Profile and then sitting back, crossing your fingers and waiting for the phone to ring, right?
Yeah.
That sometimes can work in some markets in some cities that you don't have competition, but it's very vulnerable
Mhm.
because UPS store who's backed by millions of dollars could move in down the street and they're going to bump your SEO right out of there. So you can't rely on luck of an algorithm
Mhm.
to get the business that you want. And so what Brandon was just talking about here is our the daily dues, which are the daily prospecting to get you in front of those customers every single day and leveraging AI to help you do that. But I wonder if you can delineate that a little bit because I think there is this perception that this is just everyday Joe Schmo who's walking around and suddenly needs fingerprinting. That's sometimes, I guess, could be the ideal customer, but in most cases, it's not, right? We're not just waiting for somebody to search for services and show up and they're chasing the cheapest price in town, right? They're looking for the Walmart of fingerprinting, right?
Yeah.
That's not going to be the ideal customer for most of us who are trying to scale a business. And what you're talking about is getting super specific about business owners that have entire staffs that maybe get fingerprinting on a more regular basis. So I wondered if you could expand into some of the industries or ideas for what that looks like.
Sure, absolutely. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Because, like I said, the average person, they're going to be like, well, John down the street said he'll do it for $10. It's like, okay, well, you can go there. By all means, I wish you well. I hope it works out for you. But our services cost, $100, right? I'm coming to you, right? And so that's kind of a key difference there, right? But yes, you want to be going for businesses or corporations, but also you have single business owners, right? They're so busy they don't have the time to do it, right? So sometimes I'll have like law practices that is just the lawyer, right? They're kind of doing everything. They may have a VA or something like that. And so sometimes it might be a single member business, but they got so much work that they don't have time to leave their homes. And so I'll go fingerprint those people. So you have lawyers, right? Then you have other doctors too that might be doing telemedicine. So telemedicine is a huge thing for people to consider and think about reaching out to those companies. I used to do some work with Lemonade Health. I don't know if y'all ever heard of them. They're out of California. So I would go do some mobile appointments for some of the medical professionals that they have as they're doing telemedicine, right? Then I have another company, Forta Health. That's another, but they deal it. So like I'm going to break it down just in telehealth, right? So you have medical professionals that are doing office visits, like, oh, I have a cough, right? Then you have like a nurse practitioner, that might be doing something that's thing. But then you also have the behavioral health side. So like Forta, they on the behavioral health side. So all the behavioral analysis, they have to, and counselors and therapists, they also have to have fingerprint background checks. And so they're busy seeing customers day in and day out on the computer, just doing counseling sessions. And so they schedule mobile appointments for all their new hires. And all their new hires are getting fingerprint cards because they're not only, this is the thing about telehealth, it's not just for your state. They're doing telehealth across the whole United States. And so each therapist has to get fingerprinted for their state, and then for each additional state that as the company expands out to multiple states, right? And then
Right.
that's for each person. And so just to kind of let you think about that, that's just like I say, in telehealth alone, you got behavioral therapists, and you got psychologists, and then you got like actual health. So just in that alone, you have those, right? Then you could go into security companies, security firms like ADT and stuff like that. They offer services in multiple states. So all their agents and security people that work on the IT stuff on the backside, or if they're going doing installations, they have to get fingerprinted in order to go into those sites and work in those states and things like that, right? So it kind of it's trickled so much, and I can go on and on for different professions, but I want to throw those out there because in the different webinars, I never brought those professions up, but those are different ones too, or different ones you can angle. And I want to continue to get value by giving you profession. Actually, I'll give you one more, Bill. Can I give you one more?
Yeah, please do.
I talked about this on our coaching call we had last week? Yeah, last week. So you don't think about this, but in New Year's time and July 4th time, you have the people that have these fireworks stands, right? So in order to possess a fireworks stand, like my mind started going, I was like, I bet you they probably need a fingerprinting background check or so. And sure enough, they have to have a license in order because they have fireworks are explosives, right? So this is an ATF, falls under ATF, right? So they have to have their license and approval, in which because is by a fingerprint background check. And then to take it a step farther, like we have the Super Bowl coming up, right? And so, they have fireworks there and they have like these pyrotechnicians, right? And they have like concerts and shows and they have fire and all that stuff falls under this ATF fingerprint background check in order to handle those fireworks for those shows and things like that. So that's a whole nother like subset niche of like people you can go and like entertainment companies that are offering these services and stuff like that. So and I'm sorry, I think I'm talking a little fast. My apologies, Bill, but I just wanted to throw another one out there for you real quick.
No, every time I talk to you, I see why you talk so fast because this gets me excited too. There's so much opportunity out
Yeah,
there. And I love this shift from um, just sitting back and waiting for the phone to ring to identifying key industries, and the key people within them that are going to need this background check. And you said something earlier that I is a huge takeaway here is however you're defining your ideal client. If you're just starting out, I know it's really easy. You probably hear this all the time, Brandon. It's so easy to say, well, everybody's my customer. I just need business, right?
yeah,
So you just throw out this huge net, and then that's what happens is those low ballers or the tire kickers come in and they're shopping for every penny. This one's 50 cents cheaper. That's not who that's not who's going to grow your business at this level.
right,
But getting
right.
crystal clear about in these particular niche industries, and in particular, however you define this, include that line. My ideal customer is someone who values their time over their money. And when you find a customer like that, they will they'll pay just about anything to not have to fight traffic, get babysitters, leave work, leave money on the table. Because if they're not at the office earning money, especially those solo attorneys or these medical staffs who are working on productivity, they're losing money. So you're actually making them money by showing up and charging your
Absolutely,
worth.
absolutely.
So charging your worth, Brandon, this is something that in the notary industry in particular is one of the
Mhm.
hardest things to overcome. And I know that as you coach new business owners in the fingerprinting world, you run into this too. Do you have advice for your pricing structure and determining your value and sticking to it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, that's something we constantly talk about and preach and kind of reiterate, in the program is we're here to make money. We're not here to, it doesn't necessarily have to be quantity, right? It's about quality, right? And so we do have some pricing guidelines that we put in there so as So for instance, kind of general simple, you can charge between 45 to let's say $60 for two cards across the whole United States and be competitive. Some places they're charging, like it's a lady actually down the street from me. She's maybe 2 miles, 3 miles. She charges, I think, like $30 for two cards and five for each additional. And we both still in business and we both doing well, but that's her customer base. She could choose to do that, But for myself, I know that I'm not trying to be here out the cheapest, and I want people, that's gonna pay a little bit more for my time. It's my time. I'm the business owner, and it's my time. How much do I value my time for offering these services, right? And that's something I don't want to. I'll say it, but it's kind of like something too, like within the notary space, how you brought up, Bill. Like you had people taking signings when I first started, saying people taking signings for like $30 with fax backs, and I'm like, yo, wait, what are we doing here, right? Like we can't do that to ourselves and to our industry, and so that's what we're trying to do over here. I'm trying to tell people, hey, you don't want to devalue the industry and your services, and it's something where people, when they hear about fingerprinting, they come in, they expect to pay a little bit more of a premium because of what we're setting up in our standards and stuff like that. And, for instance, uh, I have some customers scheduled this afternoon after we get off, Bill. And one customer alone today is going to pay me. They've already made the appointment. Like I take their money up front too. That's one thing too. If you're doing mobile, I learned this. You will get burned by customers if you just schedule an appointment. I see it sometimes on people's websites when I'm trying to subcontract work out across the United States. You know, it's just to make an appointment, but there's no payments being taken. So nobody has any true commitment. They don't have no skin in the game. So they'll cancel on you. They may no show on you, and you don't have nothing from it. So I collect all of my payment up front. But if you don't feel comfortable with doing that, at least collect the deposit so that if they don't show, you at least got something from that. And you should have some type of scheduler that can do some online payment processing and things like that for your customers. So I'll say that. But then, like I say, Bill, I have a customer today because I do the FBI background checks and apostille services, which I know a lot of the notaries offer those services as well. And that's one of the core additional service lines, money making service lines, I think that you cover. But I even charge more for my apostille services. So she's getting an expedited apostille. I charge 320, right? And then the FBI background check, I charge 110. So she just paid me 430, right? And that's not, if I was doing mobile, it would be even higher, right? And so you think about that and my margins off of that, um, I have 70% margins on that service. So,
Yeah.
um, you
Well,
know,
that's huge right there. And I just want to touch on that a little bit because you have a brick and mortar. So even on the brick and mortar, you've got a $430 service from one customer. And then if this was mobile, you would charge your mobile fees, whatever those might be, for whatever radius that you would attend to. So that's real important because you've dropped the, 40, $45 per card fee. But for mobile service, it's even more. So I like to extrapolate the math on this because I think when we start doing the math, things start to click differently, right?
mhm,
And for many years, I got so much crap for this, for having a book called Sign and Thrive, How to Make Six Figures in a Mobile Notary and Loan Signing Business, right?
mhm.
But I think people think six figures is this like pipe dream $1 million thing, but six figures is barely making it in most
Yeah.
cities after your taxes and expenses. I mean, you're making maybe 70,000, which is a good living, but it's not this fantasy land where I'm rolling up in Rolls Royces, right? That was a really hard, tough lesson for me.
Yes,
So,
yes.
but if you want to make 100 grand a year, the math is really simple. And you have to make $400 a day, 5 days a week, 50 weeks per year. And what you just described is in one appointment making $430. So if you wanted to stop at making 100 grand a year, which I know you don't, because you're hungry and you're a visionary business owner like me, you could
Yeah.
stop. You've made your goal for that day. And I think that's really exciting. And I think it's important for us as entrepreneurs, everybody listening too. There's three questions you've got to ask yourself as a business owner. And the problem is in our community, everybody stops at the first one, which is how to get more customers. That's important. But the second question is how to make more revenue per appointment is the most important to me. So you're going to make $30 per appointment or are you going to make $430 per appointment? I'd much rather make $430 per appointment.
Absolutely.
And then the third question, yeah, the third question is how can I earn more revenue per customer over that lifetime relationship? And all that we're talking about there is repeat customers, people who are going to keep calling you back because you did it right and you're enjoyable to work with.
Mhm.
So, Brandon, I wonder if you could elaborate a little bit on that third one and how um, leveraging long-term relationships and repeat customers ties into fingerprinting in particular.
Sure. So I have quite a few customers that, they're doing stuff because they're either their company is growing and they're a regular employee. And so as their company is growing, they're like, hey, well, we need you to get fingerprinted in these other places, right? And so they get reimbursed for their company. So they appreciate how we're able to offer the services. We're pretty quick with the services. We offer same day appointments online if they need to, and then we'll have to where we can archive their prints. That's when you get into the live scan, right? We can archive their prints. We'll do that for them so they don't, because there's a little disruption to their day. So we just kind of printing cards as they need. If they, want to do traditional ink and roll, the good thing, like I said, they're in and out. I mean, I roll you in like a minute and you're gone. But something else that we do to kind of uh, have those relationships where people want to come back is that we also give them mailing materials. So we'll give them like the envelope to mail it in and then a cardboard insert to put in there so the cards don't get bent during shipping. So it's the little things like that
Nice.
that we do
Yeah.
to them for them that they can appreciate because they don't have to worry about, oh man, I got to find an envelope. Oh man, because I'll tell you, California and Maryland. They're big on, let's say the card gets bent throughout the actual patterns of the print, not the card being bent. You got to bend the card to fingerprint it, but actually do the prints. If it's really bad, it's possible to get rejected. And so what we do is we give them that because the post office, they just kind of slinging the cards or mail around. So we kind of help them with, so they appreciate that. And then something else that we do, that's just like B2C stuff I'm talking about, right? That we kind of do,
B to
help them
C,
out.
business
Yeah.
to consumer.
Oh yeah, sorry, yes, business to consumer
Yeah.
that we kind of do, and then for some B2B clients, what we do is I actually thought of this a few years ago, and then it's been working as I've been expanding in that service line of the business. So partnering with companies that offer visa and passport services, right?
Hmm.
And so partnering with those companies, they already have customers that need repeat service because they're probably going to be traveling abroad, right? And so as they're traveling abroad, they need a fingerprint background check, right? So I can assist their customers with getting the fingerprint background check. They'll assist them with doing the visa process for them. And then a lot of times when the customers are overseas, so what I would do this too, I'm going to give you all a secret. All right, so let's say you're doing just ink cards for this customer and they know they're going to need another check in like a year or two. So you do multiple cards for them and you just save them and don't put a date on it, right? Because once you put a date on it, it has an expiration, right, of where the agency will accept it. So let's say we do the first card, we send it off, they get the background check done, and then they get the visa from the company. And then next year, hey, we're renewing the visa because we're staying here. Are we going to another country or something, right? So they have to have another fingerprint background check. So if I already have like another two cards sitting, I just put in the date and I can mail it out to the FBI to get the FBI background check done, give it to the visa company, right? And then they do their part to help them out for the next country they're going to. So like partnering with them, I get so many people that are here and across like in different states that I'm assisting are some people that are already still abroad, right? That need it. Otherwise, they're going to have to fly back to the United States and get this done, right? So I'm helping them ease that. And so those are some premiums that are being charged to those individuals as well.
Yeah, you know what I'm hearing here when you talk, Brandon, is that first of all, you're in this business, right? You're taking it seriously. It's not just a random bare minimum type thing, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you're going above and beyond. How can I make this easier for the client. It's so funny that you mentioned providing the envelope and the postage and the cardboard protectors, right? I went to a UPS store for something similar the other day, and I had to have something sent, and I just asked for an envelope, and they're like, "Oh no, we don't provide envelopes," even though I just needed a UPS envelope at
Yeah.
UPS.
Yeah.
Wouldn't provide it, charged me 55 cents for the envelope, and then was going to charge me shipping, which came to whatever it came to, but it didn't meet the minimum credit card charge. So he was going to charge me another $2.50.
Oh wow.
It takes a lot for me to rage. It's usually something
Yeah.
like littering or people being rude, but I
Yeah.
was like, I could feel the little vein popping out of my head. But I'm gonna do everything I can to avoid that store now.
Yeah.
So these
Yeah.
little things that you do to make life easier is what people remember, and you can build those trusting relationships. Now, I want to talk about something because as we've rolled out our current iteration of our relationship, and we have this uh, fingerprinting training bundle that we've created, and we've been talking about it more, I hear more and more from the notary audience that says, "Oh yeah, I have all this stuff to do ink printing, fingerprinting, but I haven't done much with it, or I don't know what to do with it." So, a question for you.
Mhm.
I guess kind of a twofold. What would you say to somebody like that? But also, something you had said to me a couple weeks ago that really stands out. At what point did you stop seeing yourself as someone just doing fingerprinting or a fingerprinting
Mhm.
technician and
Sure,
start
sure.
seeing yourself as a business owner? And why does that shift matter?
Sure. So for someone that already has the supplies, and not really doing anything with it, you know, um, I would challenge you to at least try to go get one customer and see how quick and easy it is and the money you can make, right? So let's just say you charge them $50. I'm just gonna say that $50 for the for one card, and you charge them. I'm gonna just make it easy and call it $100 for travel, right? So 150, and that's all profit. And it's gonna take you about, well, if you haven't done anything, it's gonna probably take you a little bit longer to to fingerprint them, right? Let's call it 10 minutes, right, to fingerprint them. Oh, let me throw this out there too. I'm sorry, Bill. If you
Yeah.
fingerprint someone and you look at the cards and you can barely see the ridge pattern, do the customer a solid and repeat at least some of the rows by using the retabs. I'll get people that send me cards from other places. I'm reviewing them, and the prints are terrible. And they've never even tried to retab them, right? Like put a retab on there, re-roll the print, right? That's something we talk about in the full length ink course. The full length ink course, we go into all of that stuff because you're doing your customer a disservice by doing that, and then they have to come to me and pay again, right? So I'll just say that little quick side note, but at least try it. See if you really like it and roll it like, oh man, this is quick and easy. I got my money. I wasn't there too long. I don't have to do fax backs. I don't have to worry about if they missed a signature somewhere. Like it just boom, you do it and you're good to go, right? So just try to do that, and go and join your chamber of commerce, or just put your Google My Business profile up and see if you get any hits, right? It takes way more, but just put it up there, see if you get some hits. Start offering the service. Let people know you actually are doing the services, right? And then as you get one to two, three customers, you're gonna be like, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I like
Yeah.
this. I like this money. And you're gonna be doing, and there's not many people offering it, right? Especially mobile. So you have less competition, so to speak, um, when you start offering fingerprinting. So to speak. There's always competition, but let's just say that to kind of make it an easy answer to this question. The second part of your question, which I really like you asking, because that's something I had to realize kind of earlier on that, and it was a conversation with my sister. I'll tell y'all this here real quick, and I've never done anything at this price ever again. I got my first mobile general notary work, first general notary work appointment, and I charged the dude like $25 travel and like six for the stamp, so like $31. And I was so excited, like man, I did it right. And my sister was so encouraged, like, yeah, Brandon, you're good to go. But she like, you are a business. You're not Brandon the notary going doing this. You're Brandon and under uh at the time I was Bayou City Fingerprinting. And then we've evolved to BioScan USA as the company has grown. But uh the company has expenses. And then you are an employee of the company. So you have to get paid out of after the expenses have been paid. So you have to start valuing yourself and treating yourself as a company. So that's kind of where it initially started with the conversation with my sister. And then it expanded from uh, when I was kind of doing it on the side to when I said, okay, I'm gonna try full time, and I was getting customers in the office and stuff like that. And then I had a second office in an affluent area in Houston where my mind shift fully changed. Like it's not gonna just be because at first I just wanted to place my income and leave the hospital. I just want to get out of here, right? To now I think I have something here. This is special, and I'm gonna build it, and I'm gonna be able I'm gonna compete with the big guys. It's something I'm gonna do that's gonna make this even more special is I'm going to teach people because the big guys they just hold it all in. And if you like say, man, somebody want to buy a live scan system, they just sell it to you and say, good luck. Right with us, hey, I'm teaching you the business. I'm teaching you everything that I've been going through. Right, like this is the stuff that's I've been learning. This is what works. Like who doesn't want to jump the line and instead of going through all the hard, all the different hard stuff that I went through, like, yo, just this stuff here is like you can bypass all that. Don't waste time. Don't waste any of your time and effort on it. Focus solely on this. You're gonna make your money, right? Like, who doesn't want to get that information? Like, to leapfrog their business. Like, I mean, that's why I joined your course, years ago, right? I don't want to go through all the pain and not knowing what I'm doing. Like, I want to know. That's why we go to school, right? That's why we go to college and trade school, like to learn how to do a job, but this is a business. And so learning how to do this business and do it correctly is was something I wanted to do and sparred out from
Yeah.
Secure Biometrics. So sorry I went long-winded again, Bill. I
No, no.
apologize.
I mean, you nailed it, and I love that point too, because so many people, we live in the information age. So yes, absolutely, you can learn just about everything you want. You could go to MIT for free if you want to, right? But most people just don't do it. And even if you want to apply that knowledge, you still have to hit the hard knocks, right?
Yeah.
What is a hard knock university,
Bumps in the
right?
road. Yeah. Hard
Yeah,
not you.
bumps in the road, pitfalls, and all of that. And that's
Yeah.
why I have loved investing in mentors and programs that just help me bypass all that. For a while there, I had a coach for everything. I had a copywriting coach, I had an email
Mm,
coach, I had a
yeah.
coach for building my website, I had a coach for speed reading. I had all
Yeah.
these different coaches because I wanted to learn those skills, and I
Yeah.
could have done it on my own, but learning from an expert who had the results that I wanted got me a lot further along and a lot faster. Okay,
Mm.
I have another kind of on the coaching side of things. I know throughout your career, you've taken people in under your wing, you've had formal coaching, you've helped people build empires of their own, you've got the courses of stuff. So, after training all of those people, what patterns do you see between those who succeed, knock it out of the park and just go, and those who stall, regardless of talent or background?
Uh, I would say the most you, the key differentiator is the grind, the passion to want to succeed, right? Um, because a lot of people don't know until you really fully jump into full entrepreneurship, and you can probably speak to this, Bill. Full entrepreneurship is hard. I'm not gonna lie to people. It is hard, full entrepreneurship. And when you first hit your first bump, are you gonna keep going? Or is it gonna deter you? Right. And the people that are successful are the ones that kept going as they reached a few bumps in the road, from what I've seen. Right. They didn't let the first thing keep them from starting this business and continuing to grow the business because the need is out there, and you just have to put yourself in the proper position for you to get your customers and to uh, be successful in the business. So I would say that the desire, right? So it's not say, oh, I have more money than you, so I started, I put 100 grand into the business. Oh, I only put, you know, $200 into the business, right? But you know, who was out there willing to make it work? And the second thing, and I struggled with this, Bill, when I'm more of an introvert, right? I'm a quiet person, and I couldn't, when I was first getting out there, I would go into a business. I'm like, hey, yeah, here's my card, please, please, please do business with me, please. Like, and then I leave, right? I might have some cookies or something. Please, please, just do something with me, right? But I was just so, it was a lot for me to do that because I'm not open and outgoing. And so I would say that being the salesperson for your business sometimes is the hardest part if you're not outgoing. But your business is not going to be successful if you're not bringing in sales. And so you have to, if you're not good at that, then you have to delegate that to someone and bring on a salesperson or a company or something to help you with sales. So those are two things I would kind of say right off the back is just your passion and your drive to want to do it. Um, and then um, bringing out a salesperson, either within yourself or someone else to help you out.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. And what I love about this is it ties into the daily dues that you had mentioned earlier. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that what I have found in my own career when I was struggling, when I started my mobile notary business, I had failed at 26 businesses. And I dragged all those bad habits and the emotional baggage into this business too. So I just kept doing the same thing. And of course, my notary business almost became my 27th business failure until I pulled my head out of my ass and I started doing the things that all the coaches, all the mentors, all the gurus talk about. I used to be so turned off by it though. I was like, no,
Yeah.
I'm going to be different. I don't need all that. I don't need habits and routine. I'm going to flip from idea to idea and I'm going to hit that home run sometime. The data suggested I was wrong. I had 26 failures. And
Yeah.
in my darkest moment, I pulled myself up and I said, okay, what do I need to do? What is my routine? And that's where these daily dues came from. That took me from barely scraping by at $1,000 a month as a loan signing agent to making 20, 30, $40,000 a month shortly after that, after those 90 days. And those things are, I'm going to list these out, Brandon, because you helped me build these for the fingerprinting business too that we have in high performance notary as well. But your first daily do is to research 1 to 10 prospects. Your second daily do, done every single day, is to reach out to those 1 to 10 prospects that you just researched
Mm-hmm.
in an authentic and personalized way, because based on what you've researched. Then you're going to follow up with any other previous prospecting messages that you sent. The fourth thing, and this is huge, I truly believe that we already know exactly who we need to get the introductions to the people who will change our lives in our business, whether those are old signers, clients, family members, neighbors, whatever it might be. So you're going to ask somebody in your network for an introduction or a referral to someone. And then you're going to research or attend some kind of networking event that just gets you in a room with your ideal customers, whether that's estate planning attorneys, whether that's um, the medical professionals or the administrators that Brandon's talking about, whoever it is, fine. They're online, they're in person, they're everywhere. So you have tons of opportunity. And the last one, of course, this is huge, is to do one thing every day that boosts your online visibility so that customers who are looking for you can find you. And if you do that every single day, the results will blow your mind. In fact, Brandon, I think that's my final question for you. So if someone commits to their fingerprinting business for the next 90 days and actually shows up consistently, what kind of momentum should they realistically expect? What's possible and what might surprise them?
It's another great question. So they definitely can drive some momentum, and let's I want to make sure we make this clear. Saying what you just said was if you're doing this every day for 90 days, right? You're not taking no days off. You're not taking no, you're doing this right, and you're going into the business. So you definitely can expect to, if you don't have any customers, you can definitely start seeing some customer base and interaction of people, at least calling you right now this because I want to remember the second thing I talked about, Bill, as far as what makes people successful or not. So if you do these things and you start getting people reaching back out to you that say, okay, I'm interested, you have to close the deal. You have to be the salesperson to close the deal, right? So as long as you can turn that on, then you will see, you know, uh, exponential growth within those 90 days. So let's say, and it depends too on, what do you want in return? So do you want an extra 500 a month, an extra 1,000 a month, an extra 5,000 a month, 10,000, right? So that's going to kind of be your level. But in 90 days, I would say you can start doing at least an extra, 500 to 1,000 a month, right? If you have the time to, right? Because you already have other business and this is additional service line you're bringing in. For me, this is all I do. So I don't focus on any other, services, so to speak. So, if this is something you kind of casually bring it along in your normal daily dues and stuff like that, yeah, you could definitely see an extra 500 to 1,000 a month doing ink fingerprinting, right? That's about, let's say, let's go back to the 150 per customer. So, that's about what, 8 customers, something like that a month. That's, to get an extra 1,000, that's really not, give me if my math is wrong, but it's only about seven, let's call it 7 to 8, right? Something to that extent. I want to say 8 for at 150. But, to go ahead and bring it along. And then as you start and you're liking it, then you're like, okay, yeah, now I can start um, gaining more customers and start really tapping into some of the clients that have uh, the volume for me that you're looking to have, right? So if it's a brokerage firm of realtors and they're expanding into different states, and Bill just talked about you reaching out to people already in your network. So notaries, you already know a ton of realtors and people in title companies, stuff like that, and they expanding into different states. That's an easy kind of way in to get into that group uh, for you to do business with on this side of your business line. So I kind of hope that kind of answer your question, Bill, in the extent of like, depending on how much you put in and if you could close the deal, right? I send people leads from time to time, and then they don't close the deal, but like they were a hot lead, like they were ready to go, they're ready to buy, close the deal.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, that's such a huge point too, and it kind of goes back to the the four pillars of a successful business that we talk about, right? You've got to be competent at what you do. You have
mm,
to be confident in how you demonstrate your abilities, right? You can't go in there, oh, I guess I could do that. Oh, I could
yeah,
figure out how to roll your pinky.
yeah,
It's not going to work that way, right? You got to have the
right.
confidence. And the third pillar of that is integrity. You have to know what you can do and what you cannot do. You have to
Mm-hmm.
follow through on what you say you will do, showing up on time for appointments, calling when you say you're going to call. All of this
Yeah,
impacts relationships, but still, the fourth pillar, and it still pisses some people off, but this is the way business works, is likability.
yeah,
People work with who they know, like, and trust, but like is the big factor. If you're easy to work with, if you're down to earth, if you're optimistic and you're thinking, yeah, we'll figure it out. If you're interested in finding a way to yes and not just shutting people down, they are going to bend over backwards and make sure they work with you all the time. That's so important to closing the deal, right? That's how you close
yes,
deals.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I like how you said that. Likability for sure. They said, well,
Yeah.
people do business with who they like, know, and trust, right? That's one of the, phrases people say all the time. That comes about by, you building that trust and working with them previously and doing a great job for them. Or, if you're going to a networking event or you just meet someone and following up, don't think that someone's just going to do business with you just off the first encounter.
I
It's
wish.
follow up, right?
I wish it worked that way.
Man, Bill, I tell you, it took me, and I know you could probably experience, you could probably expound on this too, as far as like, when you had the signing service, like trying to get how long it would take to get a title company sometimes. Like, I have a company, man, that I'll tell you shoot, I got 3 different companies. One company, I finally got them to start doing some work with me, and they deal in a lot of government contracting. And so they do a lot of mass hires and stuff, and need fingerprinting, background check, all this stuff, right? It took me 2.5 years to get them to convert and come to me. 2.5 years from one client. That's just every now and again a touch point. Hey, how's it going? Just letting you know I'm here. I'm really excited. Can we go? Right. That's one client. I had another client. It took me 11 months to get, right? And they do like they're like a staff and HR company, this other particular company, right? It's a year, 11 months, man. So it's like you have to be determined and persistent into getting some of these clients that eventually are going to help lead, change your business, right? Like by bringing these clients on now, like my revenue has increased exponentially. I think I told you that, Bill, like last year is like a huge amount of growth for me. Um, and so it just takes time, some time to get these bigger clients. But in the meantime, stay at it and get the clients that you can get. In between time, you're gonna have to do some business to consumer stuff. That's just gonna happen until you can really grow the business to business relationships. And then, the third level will be business to government, right? So, as you kind of get into those, and I act as a subcontractor for some primes like those, like the one company that took 2.5 years, they're a prime contractor with the federal government. So I'm coming in as their sub, right, to help them on their services. And so it's like you gotta take your steps. You gotta take your steps. But once you get there, man, it's gonna all come full circle for you. But you just have to be persistent and consistent with it.
I love that persistence and consistency. Persistence and consistency. Two critical pieces of that. And, you know, it doesn't, the fortune really is in the follow-up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we hear people all the time, they finally muster the courage to send that first message or pop in that one time, and they don't realize that probably 90% of people quit after that.
Yeah, yeah,
And then sometimes people will do one follow-up, and then like another 30% of people fall off after that. The percentage of people who actually stay in touch with what you're talking about here and question about that, I mean, it's so low, which is why there's so much opportunity if you can do it, guys. If you can stay consistent, if you can let it and not take it personal.
right.
So here's the thing, Brandon. These companies that eventually did hire you, did they ever tell you, I'm so pissed off at you, stop calling us, stop sending me an email to check in? Were they ever rude about it, or was it just timing, or the thanks, we'll get in touch, that kind of thing? What was it like?
Yeah, yeah. So I never got one of those leave me alone emails. And it's funny because you get some sometimes because they're sending like too many, right? Like if you get a company that I don't even need this service and you keep sending it to me, that's a difference, right? But we know this, you need this service. I had a touch point with you uh to where it's like, okay, we need it. Um, and we've had a meeting, we got to a meeting and then it just like falls off. And I had to realize that even myself, like I get busy, right? So I might miss someone's email for like a week or 2 or 3 weeks. Like it just happens. And so you have to realize that outside of that running their own business, right? Especially with a company, outside of that, like they have their own stuff they got to deal with. And then they have services that they're looking for, right? They may be looking for them at the time, they may not, right? And so you're just kind of coming in like, hey man, I'm focused on this, but you're kind of coming in trying to distract me on something. I don't have time for that right now. I'll get back to you when the timing is right. And you have to. One of my buddies used to tell me this when I was kind of getting started, trying to get out there. He says, if if you don't get a return, or they saying no, they're not saying no, they're saying not right now, right? So it's never a no. It's just not right now. Right. And so as you're staying persistent, then eventually it came back full circle because eventually they wasn't happy with their current providers, right? Or they were looking for, some additional services that provider wasn't offering, or they were just trying to shop the services, right? And so, it always came back with warmness, like, hey man, we're gonna get back to you. Just gotta finish this project first. Okay, no worries. I'm still here, right? Hey, this project finished, just letting whenever you're ready, no rush, no pressure. But I'm here and we're continuing to grow and we're having additional services that we're offering to be able to uh, fully take care of you all, right? And so, yeah, it was never leave me alone. Um, Maybe I just been blessed and lucky, right, to not get to leave me alone. But I wasn't like I say, you get some messages, they hitting you every day, and it's like, or every other day. It's like you can't do that, especially with bigger firms. You can't hit them like every day, every other day. It's going to go to spam, and you're not going to do anything with them.
Well, I think that too, that's the difference between automation and consciously looking at it and sending an email. Automation is just those
Yeah,
generic messages that go out and people can recognize them now. So it doesn't mean as much. But if
yeah,
you're literally going back through your files and you're saying, oh, yeah, I told John I would check back with him and then send him a message, that
yeah,
is really just fostering or nurturing a relationship, right? It's just staying in touch, just like you would do a friend.
yeah, yeah,
And that right there is whether we like it or not, right? Because I think there's even this part of my brain that says, I just want to be good at what I do, and then all the customers will come to me. I'm really good at this. You should hire me.
yeah, yeah,
That's not how business works. It is about who you know. The
yeah,
good news is that you can access in today's day and age, you can access anybody you want to get to know them. And that's how you can build relationships.
yeah,
Brandon, this
absolutely.
has been an amazing conversation. If someone were to listen to this conversation 5 years from now, what do you hope they realize about the fingerprinting opportunity, resilience, and betting on themselves?
That if someone's to like listening today and then respond back in 5 years, or saying somebody 5 years just kind of listen to this kind of randomly kind of
Yeah,
catch this podcast.
just listen in 5 years.
Listening in 5 years, they're like, just I'll be
You
honest,
should have
man. Like,
started 5 years ago.
yeah, that's like, I was like that's really that's what I wanted to say. Like, yo, you should have started 5 years ago. And like, wow, I can't believe Brandon is here.
Well, let me ask it this way,
Have this
because
conversation, right?
let's go back in time 5 years. Did you
Yeah,
ever see yourself when you first started? Because it's probably been 7 years now. When you first
yeah.
started your mobile notary business and you signed up for my course, did you ever see yourself growing a fingerprinting empire across multiple states?
Nah, Bill, this is man. I'm still amazed by. Actually, I don't even take in a lot of stuff that I've done and accomplished during this time because I was a worker, man. Like I was a worker bee. Like I worked in the hospital. Grew to be a manager and be over a whole like a radiology department at the facility. Like I thought that was my path, man. Like I'm going to do this, and maybe one day I'll be a director. And but then along the way, I kind of got you know burned. I would say in that method, and I was like, man, I got to do something different. And I thought, like I said, it was just gonna be replacing my income, man. Like, okay, I can go do some notary stuff on the side and this and that, and maybe I can grow it to six figures. And you know, um, just thinking I would do that. Now, I always wanted to own a business, right? But it was just like I say, just some regular. Oh, I'm gonna have a business. I got a business, right? A lot of people, man, I got a business, but they don't. You know, but anyway, man. So it was like, you know, just growing and seeing like what I really wanted to do, and just keep getting sparked by um, all the information. I was just so intrigued with all the information about it and how it wasn't really out there, and it just really grown to, like I say, multiple locations, traveling internationally to fingerprint people in Mexico, doing business with people in other countries. Like I got to go do some car scan customers from people in Japan today, and what is other ladies in like Saudi Arabia. Like I got to do all this stuff, right? It's like whoever thought I would be communicating with people in other countries and helping them out and stuff, and it's been very rewarding, man. I'm excited about it. Um, you know, I'll say this too because fingerprinting is something notary people kind of they get right. Oh yeah, but like when my family, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do a fingerprinting business. They were like, really, right? And so it kind of was like, no, trust me, believe I see it, trust me, and now they see it. Like I'm actually making my living off of this business, right? So I'm making a living off something I saw. Like I can't believe like I made a business off this and that I can generate revenue. Like that was one thing that was kind of a thing. Like, can I do this? Because I'm shy. Like I don't like if I'm talking about anything else, I'm quiet. But fingerprinting, background screening, drug testing, I light up, and I just can talk and talk and talk and talk. And so I guess that's kind of, like I say, I didn't see it. I tried to tell others, and they didn't see it until it actually came through. And I'm trying to tell people, like, I really want people to be able to experience this industry and see the things that it's done for me and to personally experience it. Everybody's journey is going to be different. But if you at least start and attempt it, I think you will be able to see a lot of great growth from this business and a lot of different people like, oh man, I didn't even know I can do this. Like, you know, and I was about to start like going a whole nother tangent about, man, you can fingerprint these people and that, right? But it's like, man, it's just so awesome to be able to be here, Bill. You know, I make my own schedule. I work from home some days out the week, right? I go into the office days out the week. Like I didn't think that I was working 12-hour shifts at the hospital, sometimes 16-hour shifts a day, man, and, to be able to see that this can happen if you put your all into it and your dreams can come true. So,
Yeah. Awesome. I love that story. I love what you have created. I love that you have now shined the light backwards or behind you to um, not only pave the way, but shine the light for people to see this vision faster than others did, right?
yeah.
Um, and to give people the opportunity to go all in. They have a clear path to revenue now. And I think that's so important. So thank you so much for sharing so much of your wisdom with our community and doing so much to ensure the success of your students. So, well, thank you for showing up to the Sign and Thrive podcast for notaries again. Guys, if you're listening and you're curious and you're interested about how you can start the fingerprinting business in your state, remember it can be done in all 50 states. We have collaborated and partnered now with Brandon over at Secure Biometrics. You can go to www.securebiometrics.co/notary coach. And of course, we've got links down below in the show notes, both on YouTube and on the podcast. You can also visit notarycoach.com for any more information. Thanks again, Brandon, for being here, and thank you for listening.
Thanks, Bill.